Hey radicals, jump in. We're getting political. If you've been following me for any bit of time, you'll actually know I've been political most of my life. This is not new to me because this is not just about voting. This isn't just where should our tax dollars go anymore. This is serious. This is our freedom. This goes far beyond gun control and LGBTQ marriage or women's rights. We are currently in a situation where I believe we are at war with our government. We are seeing social media platforms being policed, content being suppressed. We are seeing such a flurry of AI content that we know, and we have proof that our government is changing actual real footage to represent their story. We've seen it happen. I know that it's very important for me to use my platform while we still have free speech, while we still have access to express ourselves and share our thoughts and talk about the world. But I already know that there have been some reporters arrested this week. I know that the government is wanting to threaten us so that we stop. And I'm not going to stop. And right now we are dealing with a percentage of the population that is either refusing to go and do the research for themselves, refusing to go and look to see with their own eyes, refusing, or they've seen it and they want to continue to be spoon-fed exactly the slop that they've been being spoon-fed. There is an opportunity now for people to come forward and say, I made a mistake. This is not what I thought this was going to be. This is not what I thought my vote was going to be for. And then people have the opportunity to stay silent. And I will not stay silent. And while I have a platform, though it may be small, I am mighty. Radically Rachael. To be radical means far-reaching, thorough, to create change at the very core of something. And once you've heard that, how could you not want to be a radical? But right now, the word radical is being misconstrued by the media and by society as if it's a bad thing. But Jesus was a radical, and I am proud to be a radical. Right now, the government wants us to feel afraid. The government wants us to be distracted, confused, disoriented, wants us to be so shut down that we don't do anything, that we don't act, that we don't speak, that we don't stand up for the injustice that we are seeing at every turn. That's how they want us to be. Now, the last few weeks, the last few months myself, I've been beat down. I cry every day, multiple times a day. But that is how the oppressor wants me to be. Depressed and sad and feeling powerless. And that's just not true. That is just not true. Not everybody will play the same part in the resistance. Not everybody has the same role to play. Some people will go to protests. Some people will make signs. Some people will change the way that they're doing business. Some people will change the way that they interact with their neighbors. For some, the change is happening in here, and it needs to happen in here before it can happen on the outside. And the smallest thing that I know I can do right now is use my platform to elevate the voices of others. I can use my platform to elevate some real news, to tell the stories of the minorities who need to be represented right now. Different states within our country are being attacked right now and are being cut off from funds, being cut off from food, being cut off from government resources and government aid. That doesn't sound like we're at war within, I don't know what else. The war and these events will not look like the wars that you've read about in history books. The war and the events to come will not look like the wars you've seen or heard about in school. I used to be an elementary school teacher. I taught 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And in 3rd grade, that is when children become introduced to government. That is when we learn, what's the government for? What are the branches of government? What is the role of each branch of government? What branch is the president actually in charge of? Why does the government exist? And in fourth grade, that's when students learn about how our nation was born. And they learn about the colonies and growing. They learn about taxation without representation. And then eventually the revolution from the king. And I know that the world I was preparing my students for is not the world that I see outside. I have a very special guest that I'm bringing on with me today to talk about all these things and more. I want to introduce you to Mandy. Mandy is a former student of mine. I taught her in third and fourth grade, my first and second year teaching. So this was back in 2012, 2013, 2014. So Mandy is a young woman today. She's a young woman who lives in Minnesota. And I wanted to connect with her to hear from a young person, right? A different perspective than mine. But also to hear from somebody in Minnesota. And Mandy has not just come prepared to talk about her own experiences, but she has also been connecting with her neighbors and people locally so that she could bring more Minnesota voices to this platform for you all. If anything that is shared in this podcast today resonates with you, please share it with someone. May this be a tool, a small tool for empathy, for compassion, for understanding. I know that storytelling is single-handedly one of the most powerful vehicles that we have for compassion and empathy and creating change. Movies, books, stories. And so here are some stories for you.
I do want to preface again that I am not a true Minnesotan, okay? I am not going to be speaking for everyone. So this is definitely a more fly on the wall type of situation.
Yeah.
Being exposed to this and being in the heart of everything that's going on as someone who wasn't aware of how Minnesota functioned is very interesting. It's been a very interesting
Mm.
experience.
Thank
Along
you for
with your
saying that. And I
Mhm.
think you're right that no one person can speak for all of
Yeah.
a group of people either. That's important.
Um, as someone who is here, living daily life on top of the constant tension there is amongst our entire cities, amongst the entire Twin Cities
Yeah.
is a very heavy weight to carry all day. A lot of the things you need to do, want to do, feel almost dystopian. And you I kind of feel guilty for doing anything that doesn't revolve around bringing awareness to
Mm.
all of the harsh realities occurring here and spreading
Yeah.
amongst other states and in the world. Um, I've been doing what I can to stay positive and to keep a level head, to be level-headed, and I'm in a constant state of I'm constantly thinking, am I doing enough?
Mm.
Which is something that I
Mhm.
think further in our conversation we can elaborate on.
Mandy may be young, but she said it so well. As we watch the events unfold around the country and world, the question begs to be answered. Am I doing enough? Mandy and I unpack that question today. Hey, everybody. I'm joined by Mandy. Come as you
Hello.
are.
Yeah.
Mandy joins me today from Minnesota. I met her when she was living here in Chicagoland when I was her elementary school teacher many, many years ago. I taught Mandy in third grade, and third grade is when students learn about government. And so I told Mandy I was going to have her do a little government quiz to see what she remembers about third grade, but also the importance of this because all of our nation should know these third grade government kind of statistics. And if anyone's forgotten, that's okay, because we're going to do a little refresher, with Mandy kind of being my guinea pig student here. So thank you.
Let's not forget about our hamster class pet.
Oh, being our hamster. That's a better reference there.
Mm.
Yes,
Yeah.
Zuzu. We remember her dearly.
Yeah.
So, Miss Mandy, simply said, what is the function of government?
To guide our society into success and keep peace and ultimately try to benefit the mass population as best and as equally as we can.
Well said, beautifully
Mhm.
said. So, in the third grade government sense, to make laws and rules, keep people safe, as you said, and provide services that help the community. Do you recall or can you list some of the services that we know we are relying on our government or that our taxes pay?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The roads we drive on, education, healthcare,
In
um,
some regard,
yeah,
some
and
regard.
um, communication, postal,
Yes, yes. So like when we have our kids, right? Kids are using free parks and
mhm,
playgrounds, libraries. I love that you said the roads we drive on, the postal workers, law enforcement. Our tax dollars
mhm.
go to law enforcement, fire, those kinds of services, education. That was great. Well said. Okay. Our government is divided into three major branches. Can you tell me what those three branches are and
Would
what they
do.
do?
Oh boy, the
Whatever you can
legislative.
remember. Yeah,
Yeah,
legislative.
they
Uh-huh.
write their laws.
Makes the
We,
laws. Very
yes.
good.
And we have our judicial, and
Hmm.
they, I think, judges, or it basically,
If the law is fair or
yeah.
constitutional.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
judges the
constitutional
law.
is exactly, yes,
Hmm.
yes, yes.
Hmm. Yeah.
Legislative, judicial, and executive, and the executive branch is what enforces
Hell
laws.
yeah. I'm so
Yes.
proud of you.
Of course, I know them. It's just like we have to make sure we're saying them correctly.
Hmm. And then who is in charge of the executive branch?
Congress? No, no, no. Okay.
Not quite.
Is it the
That's okay.
president?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. The president is in charge of the executive branch.
Yeah,
Um,
yes, that does.
the president has the power to, do you recall some of the president's powers from a third grade standpoint? Letter V, he could do this to laws.
Veto.
He could
Yes,
veto
he can veto
laws.
laws. He can.
And the president is in charge of the military,
Hmm.
unfortunately. So
Yep.
the president can declare
More.
war. Very good. Okay. And then you started to mention the Congress a little bit, or that's the parts of our legislative branch. So those are the two parts of Congress we have.
Oh God, this is horrible.
That's a,
This is horrible.
ooh, you've done excellent thus far. So these are the people that we actually are voting for at like a state level because
Okay.
they're representing our state in the Congress. So we have the House of
Represent or no? Yeah.
yeah, representatives.
Yes.
Very good. And then we have the starts with an S. House of
Senate.
Representatives
Oh my
and
gosh. Yes,
yeah,
the
and the
Senate.
senators. Yes, the two of those
Senate.
make up the Congress. No, that's okay, boo.
Oh my
I
gosh.
know, and like it's we can laugh, but like I promise you there are tons of listeners that are listening right
I
now
should
that
be
they don't
knowing
know
this
these
though.
answers. We all should. And like not this is not punitive to you specifically.
Yeah.
Everybody should. And honestly, I bet majority of our general population doesn't know these things, doesn't remember, and also maybe weren't taught. Um, we've now found some research to support that the average American only reads at like a fifth or sixth grade level. And so the worry I have about that and why that really matters too is because our government then doesn't want us to be able to access higher education, books, knowledge, and that keeps us weak and powerless, and disempowered when we don't have the ability to read higher level texts or the news. So everybody's needs this little brush up too. And then this is my final question. This was kind of the extra credit question. So far, you have gotten an A. You've gotten all my questions.
Okay.
The House of Representatives and Senate, that was your tricky one so far. You've done phenomenal and everything else. But my extra credit question is, what's the purpose of checks and balances? We divided our government into these three branches to separate the, this is extra credits.
Power.
Very good.
Yeah.
The power. We want to separate the power. And then that we have what is called checks and balances, where these systems of the government, these different branches are supposed to be checking the power, right? And making sure that there is not total overthrow or
Mhm.
unjust things happening. Okay. So all that to say, right? So that is what you're taught as a third grader. That is what we are told the government does and the government is for. And so for listeners that are listening and following along, and I'm sure you like me, this is not what's happening in our government today. This is not how things are functioning. We are seeing the news, actual news footage being changed with AI now. We're seeing like a shift of different types of media coming out, and the news is actually being manipulated. So we can't even trust what we're being shown. People have to really go and do their own research. People have to go and look at multiple sources. The other day, we had some reporters arrested. And so even the journalists and people who are trying to spread awareness of the truth of the matter, right, were now being threatened. So I think our government right now wants to keep us in a fearful state, or to keep us in this disrupted state where we do feel it's dystopian. Um, it's to kind of numb us to this type of stuff happening on a daily basis. I think Minnesota is where our government is really trying to show the rest of the country, look at what we can do to you. Look at what we're going to do. You want to vote blue, you want to act up, like you, I think that they are punishing Minnesota. And that is my outside of Minnesota perspective, that I think our government is acting very punitively, specifically in Minnesota, and trying to make an example. Can you, what do you have, what could you say back to that? I mean, I'm making a bunch of
Well,
claims
I
there,
will
but
say I do have some statement stories of locals here in Minnesota, in Minneapolis specifically.
hmm,
From the information I've gathered and how I feel personally, I think a lot of Minnesota realizes that we were the target because of how we're ranked in a lot of things, how our lands are viewed, how
hmm,
um, strong our diverse community is. And I think they picked the wrong state,
I
honestly.
agree. Minnesota
Um,
is showing the rest of us how to handle it too. Yeah.
yes. And I will say to be on this side, seeing how much support we've received and how the action and the um th- honestly the soul work that everyone has been putting in has been seen and appreciated is beyond
I'm
word.
so glad. I'm glad that you feel that and the community feels that the rest of the country is watching
I say
as
that, and
much as
I
they
also
can.
do want to state though that there can always be more of that. There can always be more of that coming from you guys. And if
Yeah.
we weren't the state and if it was a different state, there can always be more attention being brought onto it and a lot more things done on your end to help states that are
Yeah.
in crisis like us. So yes,
Let's dive
appreciation.
into that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I already have kind of shared with the listeners that I know in the show notes, I'm going to drop a few places and links for resources to donate locally to agencies in Minnesota,
Mhm.
whether that's like food banks, critical, agents, people who are on the ground. But can you talk about what do you think we could on the outside do better? Yeah. Do you have any ideas yourself? I know that's a big question for a young lady, but
I will touch on maybe the strikes. Minnesota had I think it was the 30th, January 30th, was the nationwide
On
strike.
Friday.
And
Yes, on
then
Friday.
the
Yes.
23rd was, I would say, more solely Minnesota had conducted that strike. Um, to have had other states prioritizing for any businesses who could shut down
Yeah.
and build, um, gather together in replace of consuming, and actually feeling what it is that getting a glimpse of what actual Minnesotans are doing to get that exposure. I feel that it will maybe ignite something within you to be able to, if you were to have a platform, use that to speak on what's
Yeah.
happening here in Minnesota, like you are.
Yeah.
And not only that, if you're creative, if you can write, do some research, write your own paper, or if
Yes.
you can do digital art, make any sort of flyer, publish that. If you are a painter or if you do anything, if you have the means to do so,
Hmm.
sell your work and donate the proceeds to. There are so endless organizations.
Yeah.
Definitely do your research and make sure they're credible, but there are endless. Um, Talking with people who live here, if you are connected to them in any way, a call from anyone with any support is the effect it has is
Mm.
astronomical.
Mm.
Um, I will say. Um,
Yeah.
what else?
I love that
There,
you're speaking about artistry and writing and those other ways that people can use their voice and their gifts because the resistance and this movement looks different for everybody. And for some people, it does need to be changing and closing our businesses, showing the government with our dollars that what we are willing to support and not support.
what can people be doing? Patronizing local businesses. We touched on the consumerism that happens in the United States, in the world, of course, and how big brands are getting exposed and
Mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
brought to attention and
Yes.
being fought against. And I just want to emphasize how important it is to break out of convenience. We are drilled into our minds
Mm-hmm,
to find the quickest, easiest way to get to a solution
mm-hmm,
or to acquire something. Recently, I just got a tattoo. I'm go to swim classes with my nanny kid. Didn't put that together. I needed some sort of second skin, bandage, something waterproof. Let's go to Target. No, let's not go to Target.
mm-hmm.
And
Can't
in
go to
fact, I
Target.
haven't gone to Target in so long, but
Me
because the
either.
convenience was just on my mind,
That was the
I
first
felt
nature.
the need, yeah, first nature. And then I
Yeah.
was like, no, what can I do? Ideally, I could have gone to a smaller pharmacy and maybe gotten something, but then I thought, let me go to a tattoo shop. So I went to a tattoo shop. Did they make me pay for it even? No. So
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
just got a bandage and boom. So
Supporting local. I love that.
supporting
To the tattoo
local.
shop.
Yeah.
Yes. And you didn't have to pay, that they just were willing to say, we'll help you out.
So
That's
it's
awesome.
again, small things like that that will enough people do that, stop spending
Hmm.
their money in places that are fueled by your money,
Yes.
will make a change.
Boycotting. Hell yeah.
One of the friends I spoke to said that these huge corporations are almost monopolized, so intricately curated to feed us as a society for convenience and
Yes.
being hasty and fulfilling our satisfaction with the most minimal effort.
Hmm.
So, again, it is so important that you break out of that box, open yourself up to the possibility of obstacles and more hardship, honestly.
Yes.
And overcoming that is
Yeah.
compared to anything
Persisting.
that's happened. Yeah,
Yes.
yes, and perseverance. You're gonna be fine if you can't get
Yes.
your Starbucks. okay?
Yes,
Please,
yes.
please go to a local coffee shop. It's not that hard. And I'm sure the
Yes.
coffee's better. I hear Starbucks has burnt coffee ground. I don't. So,
Yes.
just to elaborate a little bit further, definitely using your dollars. The government has put so much money into this, and a lot of these immigration officers, I don't even want to give them a title,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
are not going to get paid. The are getting they're not going to get they're all of these people are not going to get paid. And so they are so far low with the amount of money they've spent doing this,
Given out. Mm-hmm.
given out, they're not going to like it
I
they're
haven't heard that, so I
oh yeah.
love that. I haven't heard
Yeah.
that. That's good news.
Um, so they are digging themselves in a hole.
Yeah.
In addition, hard to say what you can physically do. A lot of people here even are so lost in what they can do physically. And yes, everyone has their place. I do hope that like this doesn't seem radical, but if you have the means to come here and protest, we already as a society outnumber them. If a state is going to be under attack and you just have the chance to be here, that would help tremendously. There are celebrities who've flown out here. There are
They
people who do not
should.
live here. There are
Yes.
family members and friends of those who live here who have come out
Yes.
to protest. So
That's
people
awesome.
who drive over state lines. So
I
I just
love
want to throw
that.
that out. People are intimidated to reach out of what they're most comfortable with.
I love that you even said you're like, I don't know if this seems too radical, but the word radical means far reaching. And so it some people hopefully will feel the call to cross state lines and go stand with people they've never met even. So I love that idea. That's not crazy at all. Um, okay, I kind of want to get into some of the stories and experiences of things that you've witnessed firsthand and those that you've kind of talked to.
Um, I almost want to make this feel as personal as it is for most of us here in our community. I want to give you a little backstory about who this individual is. They are Salvadorian and African American. They moved here when they were 4 years old. They are
Mm,
now 29,
wow.
currently here on a working visa. And for many years, they have been in a pending case for renewing their working visa. I know personally that this individual finds such joy being at the forefront of action, being a face for the cause, motivated to be protesting in the front lines, to be loud, to show their rage, as many of us Minnesotans are doing. It is important to know that they, in their statement, was vulnerable enough to tell me that for many of other protests, I'm going to bring up George Floyd incident. This individual was very comfortable being loud and seen for the mere fact of their melanin, for them not being as dark-skinned as those who were being targeted.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lighter complexion, but are that of what is exactly being targeted here in Minnesota right now.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of those being seen on the streets and abducted are those of brown skin, not black necessarily, although everybody is a
Yeah,
target right
yeah.
now. They revealed that they've lost that sense of safety in their own skin. Even with fighting those other challenges, there was almost it was like there's a green light with the confidence they had in not being so seen.
I think what you're touching on here is very important because I think a lot of people across skin tones, people have found a certain protection or privilege, right? In my whiteness, I can go protest and nothing would happen to me because I'm just a cis presenting white woman, right? But after what happened to Renee Good and Alex Preddy, that now white people also don't feel the same safety to be able to go out and protest, especially because the footage I've been seeing in the last couple days from the protests happening in Minnesota, people are peaceful. We have the ability, it's legal to protest. We have the right to gather, assemble peacefully and protest using our voice, making signs, having a presence. But what we're now seeing is that these officers in different cities, not just Minneapolis, but of course Minnesota, many different places, throwing tear gas, using force, using pellet guns, using weapons to try to deflect, the gathering. That's just a peaceful protest. So old people, children are being harmed as well. Whereas I, for your friend, I would say, I want them to stay home and I would go fight that fight for them now. And we need to, because we need to protect them.
Mhm. Now, an unfortunate aspect of your statement is that, yes, it's taken that of a white person to be killed, multiple to be killed, for someone who's white to realize that they're not safe. Unfortunately, they have we have no right to use our skin as an excuse for that feeling of unsafety, because nothing about our skin has been a reason for us to have ever been treated poorly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what a lot of American citizens, primarily whites, are not understanding is that everybody has a position in this war. And I spoke to somebody a few days ago, an unfortunate conversation. Was I was enthusiastic about protesting, planning to go to the next one, and they requested I didn't. They're like, please don't go. Ultimately, they requested that I didn't go. I asked, well, what is it that you've contributed to this? Their response being, I'm keeping myself safe. A cis presenting white woman. That was their words. Now, to a degree,
And
we
so
need to
they're
keep ourselves
telling you
safe.
not to go because they're trying to keep you safe. Is that what they
That's
think?
their intention. And then, so with knowing that was their intention, putting aside the fact that regardless of their thoughts,
Mm,
in my soul, I need to be protesting, using my privilege as
mhm.
a gateway to hopefully make that curve that's starting to wrap right around and like
Yes.
cut them off, cut them all the sources, right?
Yes.
That's ultimately what each person is trying to do so that you are like building, building, building this movement, right? Now, it's just awful that someone can have that response. What are you scared of? What is making you not safe right now? In the end, ultimately, and this is this case, if you are a US citizen, your citizenship ultimately will
Is our
protect you.
safety. Hmm.
You have there's a chance you will be taken. You could get harmed. There are countless stories of that happening. In the end, you're going to stay there for a few days and be released.
Hmm.
There are thousands of individuals who have not even this much
Yeah.
luck. No,
Yes. Yeah.
this much
Privilege.
privilege.
Privilege. It's
Yeah,
privilege. Yeah. Yeah.
to say you're just keeping yourself safe when you haven't done a single thing to contribute is what you cannot be doing.
Yeah. At this point, passivity to me, like you are on the side of the oppressor. So for people that are choosing to, they think they're protecting themselves. Okay. But it's passivity. You're allowing it. We're allowing this to continue, that they're just as much a part of the problem.
All right, talking about whites. when we had it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Phrase that one of my friends had said, who we spoke about earlier, was that representation matters. We hear that all the time, primarily for,
Queer stories or trans stories is where I
yes,
think I see, or like
absolutely.
I don't know how to say this in a non-diverse characters.
And horrifyingly, truthfully, that phrase is even more prominent in the fact that it took someone who was white to be killed for people who are white to become worried
To
and to
care.
become, oh shit, I am also a target.
Hmm.
Even though, and speaking
We've
as,
always been.
yeah,
Yeah.
everyone,
We are
everyone.
against, if we're against the government or if we're against ICE.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So representation matters. More importantly, that there's representation for those who are silenced and for those who are overlooked
Hmm.
and who are not credited. So I just wanted to make that point that sickeningly so,
Yes.
representation
Yes.
in all capacities matters.
Yeah.
Representing your local businesses, representing the courage it takes for the people here who are risking their lives, even though you're thousands of miles away looking through a phone screen. Interact with posts that are actually speaking the truth. If
Yeah.
you're going to be glued to your cell phone, especially on applications that are not allowing anything through, if it happens
Hmm.
to slip up, you better like, comment,
Share.
and share
Yes.
that. Like,
Yes.
that's
The least
so easy.
bare minimum. Yes.
If, yes, exactly. To
So
speak
I'm,
on passivity, to speak
yeah.
on
Yeah.
passivity.
Take it.
Um, I think it's just a little ironic that Minnesota is known to be passive aggressive. We have Minnesota nice. Now, I
Mm.
think that the US government misinterpreted that passivity
Hmm.
in saying that and assuming that people here would retreat and get down on their knees. Instead, this passivity becomes intensity and motivation and
Hmm.
passion
Hmm.
to be for the people. So, I just want to throw that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Love
And I
that.
think that is so, so beautiful. And it makes
Yeah.
me like just
Proud to where you
just
now
proud to
find
be where I
yourself.
am right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm proud of
Um,
you too. And I'm proud of you using your privilege, just like me, to represent and show up at the picket line. That's important.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's bring it back to some of the stories of those that you know closely and that you've kind of connected with recently.
A lot of what you don't see is the quiet moments, how people are living. It is no secret that things are different here in the way that people move and the way people communicate and gather. It's really, really difficult, as one individual I've spoken to explained, is that they've almost completely lost a sense of awe in
Mm,
those simple pleasures that they've always been so comfortable and seek would go to seek solace. Taking a walk on the street on a sunny day. It's winter. We've had snow. The streets are iced out.
mhm,
This past week, we've had nothing but sun.
mm.
And there are people who will not come out of their homes
Yeah.
for their safety. And I'm, my heart goes out to them. But
Yeah. Yeah.
anything that they can do, there are so many immigrants here who do not have citizenship and who will never in their lifetime have citizenship
Yeah.
because of how hard it is to get it and how backed up the government is in even processing anything. I think what, 2110 is where they're at right now in cases? Is that the correct year?
I think I heard that as well.
Um,
Um, I've seen the paperwork that somebody has to complete for the immigration process. It is long, it is hard, it is confusing, and as someone where English is my first language, if I have a hard time reading this, I can't even imagine for other people. And I think our government has made it hard intentionally. But we are now trapping people in a system where they cannot um, go the legal route even if they wanted to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In addition to the individual we were just speaking about, there is another individual, a Black queer performer who also agrees that the community aspect that Minnesota holds so dearly, right? We're creatives, we're all they everyone has a story here, but there's to me, it's been explained that Minnesota has sort of lived in a bubble because there's so much diversity and a lot of acceptance here. Those who are right-winged, even if they are proud of it, stay sort of quiet here. It's
Hmm.
not like we have a bunch of trucks with American flags going down the
Interesting.
street like you
Hmm.
would see in Texas.
Yeah.
One of the individuals emphasized it was a shock for them to have this presence be brought in and completely demolish the sense of community that they felt was here forever
Hmm.
since coming here. And the midway places, those safe havens, are so important right now that I don't think a lot of people are understanding how deeply rooted these networks have become here now. The community aspect was always strong, but to have been shocked, so taken aback, Minnesota has reinforced so greatly. There
Hmm.
are group chats within group chats within group chats neighbor within cities, neighborhoods, streets, homes. Like
Yeah.
somebody hears something here, 2 seconds later, it's right here.
Yes.
So th- I think it is important to note that it is horrible, the things that are going on here. People are suffering.
Mm.
There are also things that are being built that will remain once this is over because
Yeah.
everyone here knows that this will come to an end.
Yeah.
As for some of the individuals, um, let's talk about maybe the business aspect. I spoke to a woman of color who happens to be a small queer business owner who has had people come with the questions of why are you not closing down? Or why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Businesses are either on a pedestal that you are supporting this action or you aren't. And there's sort of a in-between limbo occurring that people are forgetting that these business owners, especially the local ones, are doing whatever they believe will keep their staff and guests the most
Safe.
safe.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, for some businesses, that is being open or being a hub. Yes, for people to come and gather. Of course, depends on the business, but I think we're seeing that kind of across the nation too, that there are
Mhm.
businesses that support the administration, there are businesses that are supporting the resistance, and we are kind of calling out those that are in limbo. But for these small local businesses, that is their ability to put food on the table, pay their bills, keep the lights on. Um, so it's a very delicate time everywhere, I fear.
To feed a little bit more on the business aspect of things, in relation to the population here. Businesses are also so much for the movement that I have seen within my own community and with my own eyes and with my own actions that everyone is doing what they can to make sure that whoever you are connected to is safe. I've seen in an establishment, coworkers coming together to drive other coworkers to
Mm,
and from work every single day
that's amazing.
through whatever weather conditions. And these workers that are having to be put through this have been given options to not work and still be paid, yet they don't want to stop working. They don't
Mm-hmm.
want their lives completely altered and uprooted.
Mm,
They don't want to lose a sense of routine, a sense of stability. I see hardworking mothers entrusting other strangers to drive their children to and from locations and hoping that even in the presence of someone who has a sense of guard, a sense of security or privilege,
yeah,
that they're not going to still be seen. And it's living in that invisible cloak that I could never imagine experiencing.
yeah,
It's awful.
yeah. Thank you for letting me hold this with you. Um, because I think when everyone is scrolling on social media and we're seeing blurbs of news roll by, it doesn't, there's some part about that like parasocial distance on social media that I think that it leaves people feeling very numb and it doesn't feel tangible. Um, and when we started this call today, you said like, the weight of what's happening here is so heavy and it feels so heavy. It feels so thick. And it is. And really, we can talk about the fight and the resistance and trying to do what we can in this war. Um, but sometimes at the end of the day, I can't do a whole lot. I can't change a whole lot. But what we can do is hold space for other people so that they don't feel so alone. And I am thankful that you've been able to bring these stories here today, even in a small way. Just you've said so many insightful things today that I think will help impact people who are far away from a zone like Minnesota or Chicago or LA, for people in more rural communities. Or people who are in privileged communities where they don't feel the effects of what's happening in the world because it hasn't reached them yet, but this is, we are not even, we're like a year into this administration, so to me this is just beginning. And so for months from now, years from now, we're still going to be looking back to Minnesota, looking at what Minnesota did, how you all created these networks, supported each other, as kind of like some foundation for the other states, and because this isn't over, but just being able to hold the space for that and hear these stories and experiences um, sometimes is all that we can do.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to give you the opportunity to speak a little bit more about your own experiences, um, about what it's been like. I mean, you've been in Minnesota a couple years, so you're not totally a fly on the wall because you are a part of the community, but I understand that there's some culture shock as you are watching your community respond to this. Um, and so I wanted to kind of open the door for you to share, Mandy, a little bit more about your own life and experiences right now, too.
Absolutely. Um, yeah. What's interesting, something I've reflected on recently, is that when I was first, when the discussion of me moving here was in the air, I had confided in my sister and brought up this option that was granted to me. And her response were very off-putting. She had mentioned, "Oh, have you done your research? Do you know the criminal right there?" I'm like very specifically curated questions
Mm-hmm.
almost. It seems she wasn't supportive of this endeavor. At the time, mind you, there hadn't been any major events going on. And I later found out that she had a larger problem of what was going on, and she was convinced that moving here would be such an awful choice that either the people here were going to eat me up, or I was going to somehow become the person that eats people up, you know.
Hmm.
That may not be the best wording, although I think it's significant because it almost felt that, and I can't say for sure if it's because she was viewing Minnesota this way specifically, or the people here even at that, or if she would have had that same response anywhere. Being here through this, though, I couldn't even fathom that being said to me by my face. Mind you, yeah, that was said behind my back to another family member.
Mm, mm.
And so, with that coming to my attention and reflecting on that now, seeing the love and it's like it's deeper than community and support, so much deeper. It's, oh my gosh, what's a word for that even?
You know what? Even seeing you like speak about it, I can tell it's something very different and special. And I don't even think I've ever witnessed that in my own town. What I'm seeing viscerally from you in a good way, that it like it runs deeper than like being a good neighbor. Yeah, there I can tell.
Exactly.
Um,
That's a perfect way to
yeah,
explain it. And it comes down to humanity and morals, to not want to live in a community that mm, not only can maintain that, but even has that is has been very uplifting. And so in my experience, I'm seeing murder before my eyes, right? And for the murder of Alex, I had just the protest was just a day before.
mm,
And I that weekend had flown to San Francisco,
mm,
got off the plane, turned airplane mode, murdered. Cold blood killers.
yeah,
That is, there was no reason for that to have happened.
yeah,
None of the murders
yeah.
have had, there was no reason. And it's soul shaking. Like you feel nauseous thinking about it. And you want to be able to be happy and do the things and go to those safe environments and connect with people to have any sense of socialization in what feels like complete isolation, like within the community of yes, but from out of the state, like, you guys aren't seeing all that's being
Yeah,
occurring here. We don't know what you guys know. We don't know if any of the
that's
things that
yeah.
we're yelling are being heard. We like to think so, and we are seeing change. You see that slight curve coming, and we're hoping that when this does spread, that you hear everyone's everything that people are teaching needs to be picked up. What a lot of people are scared of is actually being face to face with either immigration enforcement, with ICE. But another aspect is that people aren't realizing that we are going to have to go face to face with them and actually sit down and talk about, like, if we were to make a huge impact, we need to be prepared for what we're going to say when that comes.
Yeah.
What are we asking for? What is it that, like, what will benefit us in a way a government should be?
Right now, we are on the collapse of our society and systems. And even though that this is a horrific time, it is necessary for these new systems to be built. And so you're right, we need to be thinking ahead. What are we going to ask for? What are we going to demand? What are we going to ask for as we rewrite our new government system? Um, and that we need to be casting a vision beyond the fight, because there will be some repair. Um, and I'm so, as we've had this conversation, Mandy, I time and time again in my head, I have just been like very refreshed and very hopeful, because your generation is our future. Your
Very true.
generation is the generation that is going to rewrite these systems. And I remember when I was a teacher being told, you are preparing your students for careers and jobs that don't even exist yet. And I always told that to myself. Of course, I couldn't dream what those jobs and roles would look like. But talking to you today, hearing how aware, tapped in, um, educated, I can say educated you are, um, compassionate you are, that it makes me, I have hope. Like I have hope for the future, because your generation is way farther than mine was, than the millennial generation was when I was your age, when I was a young 20 something. People were not this active, people were not this engaged, and people didn't care. And so I know that the tide is turning as well. So I know that you and I both at times have probably felt like, who are we to try to have this conversation? We're just regular people, right? We're regular citizens. No, we should be the exact people having these kinds of conversations. This isn't just for lawyers, or just isn't just for political science majors or people who are studying government. We need everybody. We need regular people to get involved and get engaged. So, thank you for doing just that with me today.
Absolutely. I'm very
Yeah.
honored to have been able to shed any light on what's happening. And it's this type of thing, my being given the opportunity to to people who are in my community is just another reason why this is so important.
Yeah.
How being prepared to, because you're going to be putting this on your platforms with the chance of you losing them. Honestly, like there
Yep.
is that ultimate chance that you will
Yep.
get completely dismantled.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you, with your privilege, you take it upon yourself, and it is honorable, but it's also expected. I
Mm-hmm.
want that to be kind of known.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, yes. And there are so many more stories. So any listeners who are with us right now, I urge you to continue to expose yourself to the harsh realities while maintaining. I know it sounds hard to maintain such a level-headed consciousness about everything when all of this is just truly effed up.
Mm-hmm.
It takes balance. We're all
Mm-hmm.
trying to learn it. No one is
Mm-hmm.
fully achieving that,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not alone.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Mhm.
And that's how we have to keep on continuing, um, living our life, surviving and thriving, while fighting when we can and picking up what we can. I really admire the way that you're showing up on your social media lately. I know that you're trying to transmute the energy and the heaviness of what you're experiencing and what your community and your friends are experiencing. And I've seen you returning to using affirmations and cards as a small tool to ground yourself and kind of share that as a little tool with others. Um, would you, by chance, be willing to share an affirmation with us today as well?
Sure. I randomly have the cards next to me.
um, my listeners know I always like to end episodes with affirmations or mantras. I think after we emote and unearth so much, and there's a lot of grief and heaviness right now, that as we can hold space for one another in these stories, but we really can't do a whole lot to transmute that. um, but I do think that by like Mandy, you can see her shuffling over there. I know, and I know she knows too. Whatever card comes out, we know that that is the card that the universe is just giving us in this moment to kind of ground to and affirm to. And so I'm going to have Mandy read the card and I'm going to repeat it back to her. And listeners, I would invite you to do the same, to repeat these words with us so that we can attune to this vibration or this frequency.
The card that came out is I am bold.
I am bold.
I speak my truth in a loving way.
I speak my truth in a loving way.
My courage to communicate my needs is powered by love for myself
My courage to communicate my needs is powered by love for myself
and love for others.
and love for others.
I am bold.
I am bold. Thank you, Miss Mandy, for sharing that message with us. It's a powerful message that we need to remember to keep being bold. Yeah. Loving ourselves and loving our neighbor.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me today, Mandy, and thank you for the time and for
Yeah.
your voice and for your boldness.
And yours too.
Mm-hmm.
You wanna be radical, don't you? Free in all the ways it matters.